Hello, everybody. Welcome into this all-new episode of the Pack-A-Day Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Appreciate you being here. We're going to be going over our grades today in just a moment. Before we get there, a couple quick reminders. First of all, the Milwaukee Admirals game this upcoming Saturday. Make sure to check that out. The link will be in the description below. Tickets under $20 gets you access to the game. Q&A with me before the game. Apparently, I'm going to be doing a intermission little Q&A as well. And then Human Hockey Puck plus Robert Brooks, George Kuntz, Ed West. What more could you possibly want? Meet and greet, Q&A, hockey game. It's going to be a super fun Saturday night. So make sure to check that out. Again, Milwaukee Admirals. And again, the link will be in the description notes of today's show. As far as injuries, we got a bit of an injury update. I'm recording this prior to a injury report and prior to Matt LaFleur doing his press conference, but we got some injury notes from the beat guys that were attending practice. Jair was practicing. That is a great sign. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play or anything like that, as we have seen the last couple of weeks, but still, you love to see him out there and practicing. No sort of setbacks, it wouldn't seem, or anything like that. Only two Packers not practicing, Javon Bullard and Quay Walker. That is also a good sign that there's not some all of a sudden unknown or mystery player that wasn't practicing. So only two players we'll see eventually, again, who's limited and all those sort of things, but only Bullard and Quay not practicing. For anyone that was hoping to see Marshawn Lloyd return, he did not return to practice on Thursday. So that is one thing that, we're going to have to kind of continue to monitor, but he did not return to practice. Would not, again, expect him to have any sort of, major impact the remainder of the season, but you would love to see him back at some point in time. Luke Musgrave did continue to practice as well, just as a side note there, but only two, Bullard and Quay. And then again, Marshawn Lloyd not yet activated off that non-football injury list. All right. As we know, and as we've been talking about, my good friends at Habish Rotier, just like the Packers have an elite injury recovery team, helping players safely find their way back to the field. If you are injured after an accident, you'll need a team of qualified and experienced personal injury attorneys to champion your cause. The attorneys at Habish are always here for you, and with a national reputation and compassionate hometown service, they'll work hard to get you the compensation that you deserve. When you call Habish, you're going to talk to a lawyer directly, not a customer service agent, not anything like that, an actual real lawyer. It's easy. Their number is 800-242-2874 or 800-2HABISH. Of course, you can also visit their website at habish.com. Habish Rotier, national reputation, hometown service. I don't know about you guys, but for me, this is like peak injury season, whether you're putting together toys, trees, lights, all of it. You might just need that number coming up in the near future here. All right, let's get to our grades for week 15 over the course of this past week. Obviously, I had the opportunity to go through, watch the L22 of every player and every play like I do every single week, go through our top three on offense and defense, bottom three on offense and defense, and then some noteworthy participants as well. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball, our top three performers on offense. We're going to start with Romeo Doubs. And a little bit of a spoiler, this is not going to come as a surprise. The top number one guy on defense was Edgerrin Cooper. Think back a week ago. Detroit Lions, very tight game, back and forth, could have flipped in either direction. Two players that didn't play in that game, Romeo Doubs and Edgerrin Cooper, both the top two performers this week against Seattle. I'm not, first of all, comparing or contrasting Detroit or Green Bay. If we want to talk about lost players, lost injury time, those sort of things, Detroit is far and above everyone else in the league when it comes to injuries right now. So I'm not saying look at how screwed Green Bay got or woe is us or anything like that. Go play the game, go win it. Green Bay did not, Detroit did. Bottom line, end of story. But you can also imagine if you had Romeo Doubs and Edgerrin Cooper, how much of an impact it potentially could have made in that game against the Lions. They come back this week and again are the top performer on offense and the top performer on defense. Let's start with Romeo Doubs. You guys know the two main plays, the two touchdown plays, right? I mean, the first one, slant, sort of contested catch, hands catch, and then just powers through two defenders on his way to the end zone. I mean, just man's game, physical, tough, like just showing off at that point, right? Like you absolutely love to see the effort, the intensity, the physicality that he played with on that play. And I talked about earlier this week too. We saw a little bit of a bubbly, smiley, happy-go-lucky Romeo Doubs out on the field. It was kind of fun to see his energy and his he's always focused, he's always intense. But I love that energy from Rome as well. Then later in the game, that final touchdown play. I mean, I don't know that we've talked about that enough. That catch is insane. It is ridiculous for him to be able to go down and then go get that ball and keep it up in the air and then survive the ground and get a knee down before going out of bounds. I mean, Jordan does a great job of anticipating that throw when he throws that ball. I mean, Romeo's not even remotely out of his break yet. So he's got to put air under that thing, make sure it doesn't go out of bounds, make sure he's giving Rome a chance at it. But it's still a little, you could argue a little bit underthrown, right? So Rome's got to go to the ground and make that catch. Talk about paying that thing off. I mean, and that's Green Bay is going to win that game no matter what, and yada yada. Like that was a game that was over at that point. But it's at least slightly more interesting if that's a 13-point game instead of a 17-point game, getting that thing back up to a 3-possession game. So, and maybe they missed the field goal. Maybe it's a 10-point game, right? You never quite know that either. And knowing things, how they happen in Seattle, probably would have been blocked in return for a touchdown. It's a 3-point game. So you never quite know with those things, but that's a huge catch from Rome. And let me just add on top of that, I know I've seen a lot of people, puffing their chests out, super angry and frustrated about how Matt LaFleur wasn't aggressive enough in that game. I've talked about already how I loved his 4th down decisions. I thought kicking the field goals were the right ones. How about that play on like a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6? That particular play is a max protect deep ball shot. Like he's going for the kill right then and there. There's Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, basically a 2-man route, max protect everyone else. And the goal is to get that shot play down the field to Romeo Doubs. So for all he's too conservative, he's too cautious. 3rd and 5 could have done something cautious, could have gone for a nice 5-yard completion or something like that. No, go for the kill. And they got the kill. And it's a huge testament to Romeo Doubs and what he was able to do on that particular play. So, and then he also had a pass interference at the end of the first half that led to 3 points. Had another, at least one catch, if not two, if I forget off the top of my head. But overall, just really, really impressive day from Rome. And you just love seeing him back in that lineup and making that sort of impact. And don't forget, at the end of last year, especially come playoff time, he was a big time performer for the Packers. So they can get him back playing at this level. It's going to be a huge value add for this offense. And then Jordan Love plus 1.35 was number 2 on offense. I thought there was a couple of deep balls, 2 of them that got, pass interference calls. The final one to Christian Watson at the end where they're trying to convert that 3rd down. I thought that the deep ball could have been a little bit better in this game, just gave his receivers a little bit of a better option. Now he got 2, I don't want to say bailouts. The first one to Watson, and almost felt like maybe he was trying to underthrow it to have Watson come back and maybe get that contact a little bit. But I thought the deep ball could have been a little bit better. Outside of that, I mean, the only other semi-egregious thing, and you can quibble with, maybe who to blame a little bit more, whether it was Matt LaFleur or Jordan Love on that 2-minute drive towards the end, where they're taking so much time to get up to the line and then Jordan's making checks. Listen, I think that ultimately falls on Matt LaFleur, and Matt has to be better in that situation. And he readily admitted that in his press conference. But Jordan also has to know better. And Jordan also has to make sure that everyone's getting up to the line. When you can't start having checks and things at the line as the clock is ticking that aggressively. So I thought that was the only other thing for Jordan that was really kind of a negative in this game, was the 2-minute operation, and then a couple of the deep balls that could have been better. But outside of that, super efficient. Once again, took the check down when he needed to, little scramble in the red zone to get down to the 1-yard line when he needed to, found the explosive plays down the field when he needed to. Like, it was just a really efficient game. And I talked about this earlier this week of like, you've sort of made it to an extent when it's just a ho-hum, 20 of 27, 200 plus yards, 2 touchdown, 120 some passer rating performance. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's just Jordan being Jordan. Like that's like, it's not just the 3, 4, 5 touchdown games that are like, wow, look at this, whatever. Like when that becomes just the norm, where he has a game like that and you're just like, yeah, it's just kind of what you expect out of Jordan at this point. That really kind of shows that you made it. This was like just one of those really nice games from Jordan, not one that I think is going to have a ton of, crazy highlights on his career highlight reel or anything like that, but just a really sound, steady performance from beginning to end, a winning performance in another game with no turnover worthy plays. And then last but not least, Christian Watson plus 1.2. He also had the big pass interference call that he got down the field. That was a big play. He gets the big reception down the field. He also, caught that ball in the red zone that got them, within a yard. They didn't go for it, but they would have been set up. That's a big hit that he took over the middle on that particular play. Big 3rd down conversion on the right side. Great throw by Jordan on that one to kind of lead him. And then Watson makes the sliding catch on that one. Just a connection that was really working all day up until really that final play of the game where, again, I think Jordan maybe could have led him a little bit more. Watson still has the ability to kind of go up and get that ball. Defender made a good play on it. But outside of that, a really, really impressive day from Christian Watson. Nice bounce back from the fumble a week ago. And just, again, a really heady, great overall performance from Watson and did his usual stuff on the outside as a blocker as well. Bottom three in this one, not really much to talk about here. Sean Ryan had a negative 0.5, just like a very Sean Ryan-esque game. Some really good stuff, really moved some people in the run game. Other times missed an assignment and, would miss a block here or there. A couple pass pro reps where he kind of let somebody in. Just that sort of day. And that's been that sort of season for Sean Ryan. And this is exactly what it's been. You will get a day where Sean Ryan looks amazing, and then you'll get a day where he just doesn't look as consistent and as good. And if there's one thing that he can continue to do, it's just add that consistency to his game. But this is not, we talked about this kind of like with Josh Myers in the past, where it's like inconsistent, but leaning on the bad side, where it's like you ended the year with like a pretty large negative grade, one of the worst graded players. This is inconsistent, but still grading well in the positive for the season. I think this has been a really nice year for Sean Ryan. But one of the things as a coach that you always want is that level of consistency. What you don't want as a coach is being like, all right, I've got a right guard today that I don't know if I'm going to get an A or an F or a B or a D or a C or anything in between. Like that's where, he just needs to kind of clean it up and get it fixed so that we don't ever have to wonder of like, what Sean Ryan are we getting today? And even if that means less of an A sometimes, as long as that means no, C minuses, Ds and Fs, like you're willing to take just B minus play from Sean Ryan. You feel pretty good about it, but you'd love to see that be consistent rather than, what are we going to get today? We have no idea. But I think overall, he's been a real positive for this team this season. Wasn't anything massively egregious in this game, but just again, one that you'd like to see a bit more consistency from. The other two, Josh Jacobs, negative 0.2, just because of the fumble, really. Outside of that, he had a good day, find a good day. Wasn't anything spectacular. There's a couple good Josh Jacobs runs early. A lot of it was sort of blocked from a couple missed tackles and, guys that he was able to shake off and break tackles on, things like that. But a lot of it was just, and quite frankly, a lot of it was not blocked up for him, right? It was a tough sledding day from a yards per carry average. Did not think that was anything that was on Jacobs. I don't think I graded him negative on any specific run where like he did anything wrong or chose the wrong hole. The one screenplay early where they set up, he kind of runs into Elton Jenkins. I thought that was one where maybe he could have navigated that a little bit better. Maybe took a little bit more of a pause before just getting upfield right away. But again, we're nitpicking at that point. This would have been a positive grade for Jacobs had it not been for the lost fumble. And then the best part, the third lowest graded player was Bo Melton, with a even grade on 2 snaps, meaning he didn't even grade in the negative. He was just a net neutral because he only played 2 snaps in the game. There was nobody else in the negative. So only 2 in the negative. Sean Ryan, who was up and down, had some really good plays in this game too. And Josh Jacobs, who the only reason he was in the negative was due to the fumble. He takes care of that fumble, and it's a totally different conversation. We might only see Sean Ryan in the negative in this game. So pretty incredible from the offense. Some other noteworthy performances, Jayden Reed plus 0.4. Didn't get a ton of opportunities in this game, but I thought he made the most of them when he did. A couple plays he also got open. The one unfortunate play was the one that he slipped on that key third down, or was it fourth down? Third down? I think third down. But they have Jayden Reed open on the deep out route, and Green Bay had the perfect play call in. Perfect play call. They protected it perfectly. Jordan threw it perfectly. Jayden Reed ran it perfectly, and then he just slipped and fell down. So unfortunate there. But other than that, every time he got the ball in his hands, he made things happen. There was the one play, I think he got it on the outside and immediately got tackled. Nothing he could have done in that situation. But outside of that, he got a couple of like those pop passes / reverses, made the most out of those. So that was a solid overall day from Jayden Reed. No real negatives there. Elton Jenkins plus 0.35. This was a little bit of a Sean Ryan day, but in the opposite, where he had a few plays that I think he would really like to have back in this one, and just some blocks where I thought he could have moved people a little bit better, especially in the run game. It was that sort of day for the offensive line in the run game all game long, just lacking that level of consistency, but also had some really good and big time blocks in this game as well, both in pass pro and as a run blocker. So I thought this was a really good overall day. Again, some inconsistency there from Jenkins, where you had quite a few positive grades and a decent amount of negatives, but more in the positive, not a lot of neutral grades. It was either usually good or bad, but it ended up being far in the positive with a plus 0.35 grade for Elton in this one. And then the highest graded offensive lineman for the day, actually Josh Myers, plus 0.5. Talked about that a little bit yesterday with Mike Wallen. Mike talked about how it was one of his better games of the season. I had not gone through the all-22 at that point yet, so it was awesome to go back, and not that I'm surprised that Mike was right in that situation, but go through and see exactly what he was talking about. Getting to the second level, double team blocks were really good. Those are his 2 fortes. Actually, I take that back. He's pretty darn good in pass pro. Can get to the second level on blocks, can get to his points on the field. And he's been, I think this year, one of the areas he's improved the most is on his double team blocks. Where he struggles is one-on-one and moving people and sometimes getting beat and sometimes having a lapse here or there where he just let somebody beat him easily. So I thought this was a nice game from Josh Myers, plus 0.5. Again, highest graded offensive lineman on the day. Top 3 in defense, we talked about Edgerrin Cooper, plus 1.4. What more do you want? 1 interception, almost another interception, sack on a key play, unbelievable play on Jackson Smith and Jigba on that little middle screen where he comes up and makes the tackle on that one. Now, we didn't grade this because I don't grade special teams, but 2.5-ish tackles on special teams as well. Just absolute stud. Did it all in 34 plays on defense. Obviously, a few more than that on special teams, but big time performance. Showed every single trait that is desirable and that you want from him. He's a stud. He's going to be a stud. He's only going to get better, and just keep this trending in the right direction for him because he can be the best linebacker in the league. I'm not saying he's going to be that. And again, I'm very hesitant to try to put too many expectations on him, but he's got that type of ability. Really exciting stuff from Edgerrin Cooper. Carrington Valentine, plus 0.85, interception, a key part of that, but I thought he had a nice day even outside that interception. Was willing to come up and work as a tackler. I thought he covered well. You didn't see DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, or Jackson Smith and Jigba on the outside winning much against Stokes or Carrington Valentine. Part of that was coverage and scheme, but and pressure up front. But a lot of it too was the coverage on the back end. Really nice day from Carrington. Yes, you would have liked to see him stay in the end zone, take that knee. It cost him 6 yards at the end of the day. They got it to the 14. It would have been at the 20 if he kneeled it down. It's not the end of the world, not anything I'm super concerned about. Really nice play on the pick. And the play before that, I've talked about in the past of like, if you drop an easy pick, it can be a negative play. That one I think is a little bit tougher. He had to make a leaping catch and then it kind of goes off his right hand. Probably one he still should have had, but it's a little less egregious. I still had that as more of a pass breakup in that situation and thought he made a nice play on the ball than a negative play there. Could he have made that pick? I think so. I'm sure he would probably tell you he would have liked to have had that one, but that to me was not like this. He's just sitting there and the quarterback throws it to him and he drops it. Probably should have had it, but I had a little bit more forgiveness on that one. And then, of course, makes the great interception. The next play comes off his guy, floats to the back of the end zone, cuts it off, makes the pick, and really game-changing play, too, because they would have got points on that drive. I think it completely changes the context of the game, especially if they go in for a touchdown somehow, but the interception just rules and takes any points off the board. Kingsley Enagbare, plus 0.75. He'd been struggling. I thought this was a great day from Enagbare. You had that one series where it was like, what, sack, tackle for loss, sack, or like he was basically single-handedly responsible for a 3-and-out on a drive. And then I thought he looked good the rest of the day. Had that one play where the tight end was a little bit late getting over and he just shoots into the backfield and creates a tackle for a loss. Just all over the place for Enagbare. So a really nice step in the right direction for him. Hopefully he can continue to stack success and do this because they've been kind of missing that from him. But this was a really nice game for Enagbare. Like I said, that one series where he basically created a 3-and-out on his own was one of the more impressive, just 3 or 4 play stretches of any player that I've seen so far this season. All right, those are the top 3, Cooper, Valentine, and Enagbare. Bottom 3, LVN, negative 0.4. There are a couple of run plays where he just got completely blocked out of the play. One that he got blocked outside and they just kind of took him a little bit for a ride. And then another play on the inside where he just kind of gets thrown down. So I thought on run defense, wasn't always consistent there. And then as a pass rusher, just struggled to make any impact on a day where they got 7 sacks and, were kind of all over the place. It was LVN was kind of the one that just couldn't get off those blocks quite as easily. Not brutal. We're not talking about some sort of, if negative 0.4 is your lowest graded player in a game, you're off to a really great start. Like that's a great sign. And I thought LVN could have done a little bit more in this one, but we're not talking about some brutal performance here from LVN. Just a couple blocks here or there that he probably could have gotten off of better, or that, you don't want to get pushed out of a play as a run defender. He'll get that cleaned up, hopefully continue to improve, but negative 0.4 for LVN. Colby Wooden, negative 0.2, just a couple of run plays he could have done a little bit better. I mean, there's not even anything really to talk about there. And then Evan Williams, negative 0.15, or just some communication stuff on the back end. Guys getting maybe confused with some assignments here and there. And then, a couple of plays I thought he, just could have covered a little bit better, but nothing super serious there for Evan Williams either. But LVN, negative 0.4, Colby Wooden, negative 0.2, and Evan Williams, negative 0.15. A lot of noteworthy performances on defense. Kenny Clark plus 0.6, his third consecutive week of grading plus 0.5 or better, a totally different Kenny Clark than we were seeing earlier this season. He's been an impact performer. You may not have seen like the big time sacks out of Kenny from this one, but he continues to get pressure and just be a menace in the middle of that defense. It's a really promising sign from Kenny. I think he looks quicker. He looks stronger. I don't know if there was an injury. Well, we know there was an injury earlier this season. I'm not sure how much it affected him, but these last few weeks, he's looked like an entirely different Kenny Clark. That is a huge sign for Green Bay at the end of the season here. We talked about it with Mike yesterday, TJ Slayton in like 13 snaps, I think we said, plus 0.65 grade. I mean, that is a big time performance in just 13 snaps. And for him to go in there and just completely cause havoc as a run defender and drew a holding penalty as well. And I posted it on Twitter. It's great. Like he's looking for the holding penalty after the play and then they throw it and he's like, yes. And he's going crazy because he got the holding penalty. Really funny stuff from Slayton, but really nice performance from him. Devontae Wyatt, we saw the spin move sack. He had a plus 0.5 grade in this one. You love to see the positive from Wyatt. There's so much talent there. You just want to see him tap into it a little bit more. But that was a big time play from Devontae Wyatt. Brenton Cox had a sack. He ended with a plus 0.35 grade. I really like how he looks. Like he looks to me like somebody who could be a starting defensive end in this league. He's not there yet. There are things he needs to do better. I think his, just overall consistency and I think his physicality and hands at the point of attack are things he can continue to improve, work on his rush set and a few more pass rush moves. But man, I love the way that he plays. He plays with a little bit of a level of violence. And I love that from Brenton Cox, but a plus 0.35 grade for him. I thought Eric Wilson did a nice job coming in for the injured Quay Walker. Wilson with a plus 0.3 grade. Speaking of Quay, he had a net neutral 0.0 grade. So no major stuff. Obviously, he went out with the injury. So that was a huge reason why he probably didn't have more opportunities to have a higher low grade, but just a nice little easy net neutral for Quay Walker. Eric Stokes, I know PFF had a pretty high grade on him. I know Justice Mosqueda did not like his game as much. I had a slight positive on him, plus 0.05. Still thought this was a better day from Eric Stokes. Yes, there was the incident with the mouth guard and everything like that. Some plays like Justin mentioned where he was getting back in his back pedal and kind of stumbled a little bit. The field actually was a little bit more slick than I think anyone really talked about. There were multiple slips through the course of the day, but this to me was a really solid performance from Stokes. I'll take a plus 0.05 from him every single game moving forward. I thought he did a pretty nice job on the outside on guys like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. So good performance overall from Eric Stokes. And then Xavier McKinney, negative 0.1. Nothing really to talk about here he just wasn't super involved standpoint. There was a tackle early that I thought he could have made a little bit better. A couple things like that. The only noteworthy aspect here this is the very first time that Xavier McKinney did not grade in the positive. Same for Josh Jacobs earlier. The two big free agent signings, the first time either of them did not grade in the positive, just so happened to be on the exact same week. Just to recap, our top three on offense, Romeo Doubs, Jordan Love, and Christian Watson. Bottom three, Sean Ryan, Josh Jacobs, and I guess Bo Melton, even though he didn't grade in the negative. Top three on defense, Edgerrin Cooper, Carrington Valentine, and Kingsley and Nigbare. Bottom three, LVN, Colby Wooden, and Evan Williams. That's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll be right back here tomorrow with Carmen Vitale. Shout out to our Hall of Fame and All-Pro members, Most Hated Minnesotan, PJ Wynn, John Wild, Brandon Paletta, Jennifer Wright, Boom Handle, Donald Lee, Lori Lord, Baby QB, David McCluskey, Donald Decker, Alex Hwang, Arnaldo Espinoza, Peter Rataka, Jay Zimmerman, B. Brown, Puerto Rican Packer, Dan Guestford, Step Keat, Love and Football, Dylan, Pat Scott, Bobby Santoro, and SoCal Pack. I'll see you guys soon, but until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.